11:55. Almost midnight. Enough time for one more story. One more story before 12 just to keep us warm. In 5 minutes, it'll be the 21st of April. 100 years ago on the 21st of April, out in the waters around Spivey Point, a small clipper ship drew toward land. Suddenly, out of the night, the fog rolled in. For a moment, they could see nothing. Not a foot in front of them. Then they saw a light. By God, it was a fire burning on the shore, strong enough to penetrate the swirling mist. They steered a course toward the light, but it was a campfire like this one. The ship crashed against the rocks, the hull sheared in two, masts snapped like a twig. The wreckage sank, with all the men aboard. At the bottom of the sea lay the Elizabeth Dane, with her crew, their lungs filled with salt water, their eyes open staring to the darkness. And above, as suddenly as it come, the fog lifted, receded back into the ocean, and never came again. But it is told by the fishermen, and their fathers and grandfathers, that when the fog returns to Antonio Bay, the men at the bottom of the sea, out in the water, Spivey Point, will rise up and search for the campfire that led them to their dark, icy podcast.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Good.
Honestly,
Good.
Forgot that was so long. It feels like a very nice short little opening in the movie.
Oh my god!
But it's significant.
It's
sea captain.
It's significant.
That was more engaging than the actual opening.
Hey,
Wow. Wait. Oh man. Oh, someone's got their knives out. Okay. All right.
Uh-oh, here we go. Should I just tell you how I feel off the jump?
I guess so.
Just tell us.
Was not a fan.
Not a fan of the fog.
And then I realized I had no idea what the movie was about.
Not a fog fan.
I thought I always knew. I was like, oh yeah, something with the fog, etc. No, I wasn't prepared for Pirates of the Caribbean in a small town. It was basically the plot of Pirates of the Caribbean. Is that what the ride's based on? Is the fog? And then they made it into a movie with Johnny Depp? You know what I mean?
That is an interesting point. I had never seen this before, and it does feel like Pirates of the Caribbean maybe cribbed from this more than I knew.
Yeah, they want their gold.
Right.
They come on the fog, and then when they get their gold, the curse is done.
And even just the degree, I know these are like leper zombie pirates.
Yes.
But the famous story about Pirates of the Caribbean, not famous, what the fuck am I talking about? The story about the making of Pirates of the Caribbean is that, David, you've never been on that ride, but it's mostly just pirates having a jolly good time.
Right.
But at the beginning
of
of the ride, there's this tone setting section that's amazing. That's the thing that everyone remembers, where you're just kind of quietly going down a river before the pirates come to life. It's like you're going back in time, and there's this one image you go past that's a skeleton at the mast of a ship. And it's the kind of thing, if you see it as a kid, it sticks in your memory. And then who is it, Ted Elliott and Terry Rosso, when they were writing Pirates of the Caribbean, were like, oh, do skeleton pirates. That's the thing everyone remembers from the ride anyway. But the ride doesn't have that other than this one section. And it's not it's skeletons come to life. So it does feel like they maybe looked at the fog and they were like, oh, it's like that. It's like a cursed ship that comes back and the people want revenge. And then they turn into skeletons.
Yeah.
Right?
100%. I literally was like, oh, this is the Pirates of the Caribbean. But they're in Maine or Seattle? They're on the West Coast.
They're in California. Yeah, they're in Northern California.
Antonio.
Oh, okay.
No, Antonia Bay.
Antonio Bay. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
great.
Yes.
Antonio. See, I clearly wasn't paying attention enough. Is that a real place?
No, it's not a real place.
But the ship, the whole deal with the ship is based on a real thing that happened.
It is.
Killing the people on the boat?
Yeah. I'm trying to find the name of the boat, but that's something that really happened.
The Frolic Band.
There you go. Where someone basically faked out this boat with a fire, and they crashed, and then they took all the gold.
I believe it wasn't gold on the Frolic. It was porcelain and opium.
Worth it.
Porcelain?
Yeah, porcelain. It was coming from China. Had precious china.
Was porcelain very...
I think it was, yes, at the time. in the 19th century or whatever.
Speaking of China, I literally put on Big Trouble in Little China afterwards, after I watched The Fog, because I was like, I'm so lost in this filmography right now. Because Halloween happened before, and then only a couple of years later was The Thing, which is like probably a perfect movie.
Yes.
And I was like, what's going on? And then I had to start watching Big Trouble in Little China, because I was like, I haven't seen that one either. Maybe I need to know more about John.
Did you enjoy that?
I didn't finish it, but yeah, what I watched, I did.
Okay. I was talking
Well, because I had to come do this. Yeah.
Hey, great excuse. No judgment. And we appreciate that you're doing this, because you are beyond busy right now. Which I should say, this is a podcast called Blank Check with Griffin and David. I'm Griffin.
I'm David.
And this is a podcast about filmographies, directors who have massive success early on in their career and are given a series of blank checks to make whatever crazy passion projects they want. And sometimes those checks clear, and sometimes they bounce, baby. And this is a mini-series, as I think you've been able to discern from this pre-talk, about the films of John Carpenter. It is called, I think it's called, Podscape from New Cast.
Yeah, we forgot about that. We forgot to resolve that.
No, it's They Podcast.
You think it's
Okay.
Ben,
That's what I think.
you're
gets to
playing
pick.
down the trump card and saying it's They Podcast?
Yep.
It's
Okay.
his podcast.
Wait, what was the other option?
Podscape from New Cast.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't think we're...
Or the third most distant option was Pod Trouble and Little Cast.
I think... I just feel like I couldn't make a judgment call on any of those. They're living in the same reality.
Okay, so then it's They Podcast. It's They Podcast. It's a mini-series called They Podcast. Today we're talking about The Fog with our incredibly busy guest, Nia DaCosta. Nia, you've carved out a very small chunk of time from getting ready to direct a fucking Marvel movie, the thing people use as a joke when they talk about their career going well and being too busy.
Oh, that's funny. Yes, I did do that.
I feel like that's the thing. When it got announced that you were directing the movie, you posted a quote of yours from some interview where you said like, "Oh, if I ever get to direct like Avengers 8 or something, I'll just like pay off all my student debt." Like you had some quote about like how unlikely it seemed and what kind of like crazy, like it was winning the lottery.
Well, literally, it was less about getting a Marvel movie. It was more about paying off my student loans that actually felt crazy to me. I was like, I will only pay them off if I get a Marvel movie. And now that I have one, I'm like, Jesus, I'm not going to pay them all off. It's funny, everyone thinks I literally paid them off like when I got the job, which is not how you get paid per the DGA. But
Yeah.
Right. You didn't just put Kevin Feige in touch with
with
whoever.
Sally Mae, no. He didn't start co-signing my
Right.
loans or anything.
Right.
Though I asked, but
It's like the scene of Falcon and the Winter Soldier where you have to like go to the bank and go like, "Can you forgive my loans? I'm directing a Marvel movie."
Right. I'm an Avenger now.
exactly, yeah. But instead of a boat, it's just my Citibank loans.
We should also mention you came on the show about 9 months ago, I guess now, to do the Castaway episode. You were great. And then it came out and people said it's so weird that they didn't talk about Captain Marvel even once now that Nia's directing this big movie. And the reality is we talked about it a fair amount, but we record so far in advance. You were like, it's going to be announced by then. And then like a week before you were like, Marvel just changed their plans. We have to cut out all the Captain Marvel references.
Yeah.
And Ben did a very expert job of cutting around it.
Oh man, yeah, I really thought it would get announced sooner, and they were just like, oh, we'll do it here. I think everyone also was sort of low key thinking the pandemic would disappear,
Right.
in some way.
Yeah.
And then it was like, nope, we're gonna wait 4 months since it was leaked, like to announce this. So,
Yeah.
so I apologize. And
But how many days away from filming are you now?
4.
Wow.
Wow.
Jesus.
I mean, in Under the Wire.
In Under the Wire.
Yeah. But I honestly, like, I've been prepping for 10 months, and we just need to start shooting. Like, there's only so much you can prep a movie, even one as big as this. And I'm just like, let's go, let's do it, and everyone's excited
Sure.
to go. So Yeah.
At this point, you're more like frustrated than stressed about, starting.
It's literally like having
No,
a
I'm
baby.
stressed.
That is how it felt having a baby. There was a certain point where it was like a
congratulations,
few
David,
weeks
by
ago
the
where you're
way.
like, thank you, Nia. But like, there's a certain point where you're like, okay, we bought all the stuff. Like everything. We've read the books, I guess. Like there's nothing more to do. We just got to do this now, and you just have to wait.
Yeah, it's like we get it conceptually. You're coming. Let's go.
Right, exactly. The plans are in place. Yes.
I should also make it clear, I make jokes about the name of David's baby. I say that the baby's named Grafina Binduser Sims, which is obviously a joke. But I don't want to step on David's privacy here. But we should mention that the actual name of David's daughter is Untitled 2021 Marvel Film Sims.
Oh yes, yeah. There are lawyers that will be reaching out about that. So
You got to claim that release date. That's the thing. David just put it on the
I
map
just
like
needed
9
to
months
plant
in
the
advance.
flag. Right.
You had to plant the flag. So today we're talking about The Fog, a film that Nia did not like.
I actually feel really bad about this because I would never get on a podcast and start shit talking a movie by anyone because
Hey, this is a podcast about honesty. Above all else, we've always said that. We have that sign above our door. We say this is a podcast about honesty, and a wide array of viewpoints. This is talking about like blank check movies. This is the direct theatrical follow-up to Halloween. So this is as blank checky as his career ever gets, even though it was produced on a very, very small budget.
Yeah, which you can tell.
Yes, totally. The weird contrast of like Carpenter is it feels like he is a man who got to really make movies he wanted to make his way, but he, has publicly griped for years about the fact that he never really felt like he got the room and the budget to make things at the scale he wanted to, that he was always sort of like hustling and hacking it out and stitching things together with the bubble gum and spit. But it is fascinating that like even post Halloween, they're like, cool, you get $1 million to try to replicate that thing.
I feel like it's like the Blumhouse thing. It's like, well, we're just going to keep giving filmmakers very little money, even though they prove that they can make films that make a lot of money, because that's just our model now.
Well, look, I like Jordan Peele, who you worked with on the CANDYMAN movie,
Right?
Coming out very soon. When he post Get Out gets offered like humongous movies,
Like Akira
Space
or
Jam.
whatever. He would, yes, exactly.
right, and then announced like, no, I'm signing like a multi-picture deal at Universal. I was like, that's the smartest career decision I've seen from a director in a while. And that was like, him saying like, I know what my zone is now. No, like, yes, a Carpenter would have probably liked to have gotten the budget jump that Peele had from Get Out to Us. But I still think the fact that he was like, I've established kind of my genre and there's an audience expectation of what my movies are. And I'm going to like sort of stay doing that rather than try to like get the brass ring was smart. But Carpenter didn't get that sort of like jump up in an interesting way. I mean, it was this and Escape from New York. He signed a 2-picture deal where both of them were supposed to be made for like $1 million.
Jesus Christ.
And that was his big post-Halloween cash. And Halloween's like one of the most profitable movies of all time at that point, if not still to this day.
Yeah.
Yes, but he's it's true. Everything you're saying is right, but he's making this deal with it's Embassy Pictures. I forget what they're called, like Avco back then or whatever. He's sort of like, he's not leaping into the big studio system. I don't know why.
What would that have been at the time, though? Like, was there like an IP sort of like fever like hunt as it is now going on then? Like,
no.
I don't know what it would have. Jaws 2?
There's Jaws 2, but I think like other than The Godfather Part 2, arguably, like sequels are seen as a little bit less than, right? The fact that Carpenter doesn't
direct the Halloween sequels feels par for the course because people like Spielberg aren't doing the Jaws sequels, you know? Like Friedkin's not doing the Exorcist sequel. Like these big breakout horror movies, the people kind of move on. The fact that Carpenter like wrote and produced the sequel is even sort of more involvement than most of these guys had with the franchises they started. But I do think it's that post Spielberg thing where like there is this kind of like auteur-driven populism, you know, where like directors are becoming the star a little bit, and you have these people like Spielberg and Lucas, even Landis, arguably, who are like making these sort of like dudes who grew up on TV and genre movies, now making slightly more sophisticated versions of them that are crossing over in a big way. And Carpenter doesn't make a studio film until The Thing.
Oh, well, that says a lot. I think, right? That's really interesting.
And the thing is leapfrog, you know, like a big movie's, this movie comes out, 1980?
This is 1980, and then Escape from New York is in between, and then The Thing is I mean, there's 3 consecutive years, which is pretty wild.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But like, you know, you obviously the biggest movie of the year this year is Empire Strikes Back, but you have like the year before, you know, and there's like Smokey and the Bandit 2. There's a little bit of that, but and you know, the year before you have Rocky, but yeah, it's more like Alien, you know, The Jerk, the Muppet Movie, these things that are like, you know, that are going to be the starts
Classics.
of they are classics. The start of Hollywood being like, okay, more of that, please, right? But like, it's just, you know, we're getting into the beginning. The 80s are the blockbuster decade, the first blockbuster decade, really.
Yeah.
It is wild also. I feel like we've remarked upon this before, but like 1977 Star Wars, the biggest movie ever, number 2 at the box office, Smokey and the Bandit. 1980, biggest movie, Empire Strikes Back, number 2, Smokey and the Bandit 2. Burt Reynolds was just always there bringing up the rear on Lucas.
That's hilarious.
And 9 to 5. 9 to 5 was a huge 1980 movie. Like it's a
9 to 5
more
humongous.
The genre spread in the box office.
That movie is so unhinged.
It is unhinged.
9 to 5 is one of the most structurally bizarre movies I have ever seen, and I like it. I like it, but
me
it
too.
is the middle act of that movie is just a series of dream sequences, essentially.
Yeah, like I didn't know that's what I was like, because I think like Working Girl and 9 to 5 are always sort of in a similar conversation, and they're so different. One is like a movie with a narrative structure that kind of makes sense, and the other one is literally just a bunch of dream sequences.
Right, this sort of Cinderella story type thing. Right,
that's crazy. Yeah.
Yes. It's what the dream sequences in the middle of 9 to 5 go on almost as long as the fist fight and They Live. It's like a similar kind of like, I can't believe this much of the movie is this one thing in the middle. We should mention, and we will have covered these on our Patreon by now, or maybe one of them's about to come out, but Carpenter does 2 TV movies in between Halloween and The Fog. He does Somebody's Watching Me, which is his wife, Adrienne Barbeau's first film.
That's how he meets her.
And then this becomes her theatrical film debut. And then he does his epic Elvis miniseries with Kurt Russell, which is how he meets Kurt Russell. So like in between Halloween and The Fog, he meets 2 of his biggest collaborators of the next decade. But also, I think... I have read interviews with him where he has said that like doing Elvis in particular was him trying to like knowing that post Halloween this was an opportunity to show people that he could do a different thing, so that he did not get sort of
turn into the horror guy. Right.
Yeah.
I love that, because I don't even think I engaged with the fact that he directed Big Trouble in Little China, because it's not a horror film, you know? Like it's really, I find that really interesting.
Yeah.
Right. He is, of course, the master of horror, right? Like that is a label he does not really escape. But yeah.
And you know, he goes on to make films that are more satirical or more sci-fi or what have you. But I do think it's interesting, whereas like I'm curious your perspective on this, Nia, because you've had somewhat similar trajectories in your career. But like there are a lot of horror directors where you'll read interviews with them and they're like, yeah, I was like never really interested in horror. I made a horror movie out of film school because no one wanted to make my dramas. It's like the one film where you could sort of like the one genre where you could get stuff greenlit if you had a good enough premise and you were willing to work cheap. And then the thing was a hit and I got stuck in it. Like, I feel like Wes Craven's a guy who talks like that.
Oh, wow.
You know, there are a lot of these people who came out of like Corman or Corman adjacent things. And they're like, horror was my way to get the foot in the door. And then it hit. And I had a hard time convincing anyone to let me make anything other than horror. Whereas I feel like Carpenter has always been very forward about the fact that it's like, no, these are the movies he loved as a kid. Like, these are the movies that made him want to make movies. He had interest in making other types of things just for the sake of variety, but he didn't feel like he ended up in horror by accident.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I love to hear that because, like, he doesn't seem like someone who ended up in horror by accident. Like, when I look at when anyone looks at his work, you're like, oh yeah, like you're someone who like loves doing this. And that's funny that Wes Craven said that because I'm like, oh, that makes Scream, like I think about Scream in a completely different context then. Not completely different, but I can see like that's really interesting, him like passionately breaking down the genre that he got quote unquote stuck in. That's really fascinating. But I mean, I always loved horror films growing up. Like I would purposefully try to like scare myself as much as possible as a kid, like at home by myself while the lights off because I was a latchkey kid. But I always wanted to do a horror film, but I never thought like, oh, I'm definitely going to do a horror movie first or second, or like, I never really, I don't know. I think just because it was Candyman and because it was Jordan, that's why that was so exciting to me. But there are a lot of, I think horror is mostly pretty bad when I think about scripts I've read after, I got Candyman. And I don't think I'm like, my instinct is not like in the way of Jordan like thinks in horror. I feel like, he's like, that's the, like even looking at Key and Peele, it's like they always ended in some weird horror beat and you're like, wait, what? And it's like, well, that's what his brain does. And my brain doesn't really naturally do that, even though I really love horror. Like I'd have to really sit down and like think, okay, how would I, like, what would this horror story be? Which is what I did with Candyman, but that has a lot, I don't know, that's like a whole thing that existed already. So,
But Little Woods is a movie like you watch and you go, oh, this person could make a good horror film.
Okay.
Like it's not a horror film, but it has these thriller elements. It has a build of tension. There are elements even just in terms of like the location and the energy and the relationships and everything that feel like, oh, in someone else's hands, this could turn after the first act into some sort of monster horror movie.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, I really like being scared, and I like, as a director, being able to scare people, whether that's because like a monster pops out of a closet or because people might not make it, to the end of their probation or whatever. So I guess that's true. I guess I just like when I think about like I want to tell a story about like XYZ. I don't know if my brain would automatically go like, and it's gonna be horror, but I think that my brain would definitely go, how can I make this as tense as fucking possible?
Right.
Sure. Bring, bring, bring.
Hello. Oh, I'm sorry. I was saying hello to a ringing phone. Ridiculous. Click. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, hello. Who's this?
Mick Jagger. It's Mick Jagger.
Mick Jagger of the Rolling Stones?
Yeah, baby.
Wait. Yeah, baby? Are you sure you're not Austin Powers?
I'm not. I'm Mick Jagger and I'm feeling shagadelic, baby.
What's up, Mick? How are you doing?
I got a problem.
What's your problem, Mick?
Listen, David, I'm trying to be safe. All right?
Sure, you're trying.
I'm trying to
Okay.
wear a mask.
Okay. Yeah, you want to. Right. You don't want to infect anyone or get infected. I understand.
But the mask won't fit.
The mask won't fit. I'm just trying to follow your thread here, Mick, not Griff.
Yeah, I'm not putting out any thread. You should listen to Mick more closely.
I should. He's trying not to infect anyone. He's
David?
trying to wear the mask. The mask won't fit. Yeah.
'Cause my lips are too big.
Sure. Famously sumptuous lips. Mick Jagger. Yes, that makes sense. Uh-huh.
I'm looking for a way to make lip vanish.
Okay. So we've come to the conclusion, and now we know that you're trying to make your lip vanish.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, and so this isn't anything to do with the sad loss of Charlie Watts.
Why will you bring that up? I'm trying to forget.
I'm sorry. R.I.P. to Charlie Watts, a true legend, one of the great drummers of rock and roll. No, you want to make your lip vanish, which I can't help you with. What I can help you with is making your IP address vanish.
Well, I'll stick around for that.
Yeah, you can sort of shorten that to IP vanish, which sort of looks like Ipvanish, I guess.
Yeah, sure, why not? Tell me about it. Sounds groovy, baby.
It sounds groovy. Does that make you Randy?
Yeah, it makes me horny, baby. Tell me about it.
All right, well, so IPVanish is a virtual private network, a VPN for short, and that's an important tool that's going to help you safely browse the internet. You can use it on your computer, your tablets, your phones, your Fire Stick if you're streaming some media, something like that. And it's going to encrypt your data. So whatever you're reading, whatever you're searching, whatever you're watching, whatever it is you're doing, it's going to be hidden. It's going to vanish from sight. Because what you're doing on the internet, Mick, and I don't know what you're doing on the internet, it's no one's business but yours.
What I do on the internet?
Yeah, I don't know. What does a guy in his 70s do on the internet? Famous rock star.
I mostly play Warcraft, baby.
Oh, sure. Okay. That makes sense.
MMOs, baby.
Are you like the panda? I don't know. I don't know anything about Warcraft. I remember then they introduced a panda.
Baby.
Yeah, baby. Okay, look. That's not my business, Mick. That's your business. And for listeners of the show, which I assume you are since you're calling in, IPVanish is offering an incredible 65% off their annual plan. It's equal to 6 months free. It's easy to use. You turn it on with a click of a button. It runs seamlessly in the background. It protects you while you're browsing the web. And if you do run into a problem, it has 24/7 support available by email, chat, and telephone.
That sounds groovy, baby.
Okay, well, so go to ipvanish.com/check. You can claim your 65% savings. Their annual plan is just $44.99 for the first year with our exclusive discount. So this is the time to sign up. With our discount and the current promotion, you can get a VPN for 65% off their usual offering. IPVanish is the best of the best. It's rated 4.7 out of 5 on Trustpilot, and that's with more than 6,000 reviews, Mick. So remember, it's ipvanish.com/check to get the deal and start protecting yourself online.
Well, thank you for the advice. I guess I gotta go figure out the lip thing on my own.
You do. I'm sorry. Do you remember? Yeah. I mean...
Do I remember that my friend died? Yeah, you just reminded me.
R.I.P. to Charlie. What a legend. And thanks for admitting and calling in, admitting you're a huge blankie, Mick. Maybe we'll have you on the show sometime.
I'm a David dog, baby.
Ah, that's what I like to hear. John Carpenter goes, this, Griff, right? I'm looking at our notes right now. He goes to England. What does England have? Fog.
Right. He's at a film festival
fog.
For, I guess, Assault on Precinct 13. It's pre-Halloween.
Yes, it's for Assault on Precinct 13. And he sees fog and he's like, oh, what if there was fog? Like that, what if the fog was the villain of the movie? That was
very M. Night Shyamalan, isn't
it? It is. Environmental, yes.
They're very similar in that way, I think, where they'll like latch onto a very, very basic kind of primal hook.
Yeah.
And Carpenter certainly has like a lot of ideas and ideologies he puts into his movies, but I don't think he reverse engineers them from that. Like he does just look at something and go like, oh, that would be scary for a whole movie. And then I think in the process of writing it, his feelings get put into it. But yeah, I mean, there's this quote from him here where he says like, I have a great feeling for physical movies. I don't like intellectual films. I love suspense. I want the audience to laugh and cry, an emotional response. The medium is emotional, not so much like a book or a play, really, as like music, which makes sense when you consider that he's, trained as a musician first and foremost, and, obviously composed almost all of his films. And this is a movie that really feels like the score is maybe doing the heaviest lifting of all of his movies that I've seen.
Yeah. Some of the things are like somewhat baffling when I was watching it. I was like some of the pacing at the end, especially like the church sequence. I was like, what? I was like, I feel like you've done this better before and after, John. I honestly was so flummoxed.
That was his takeaway. That was his opinion of this film, basically. He was like, I mean, first he makes it and he's like, I've made a bomb. This is not exciting enough. And he went back and reshot and he put in a little more gore and a little more like action just to sort of like spice it up.
What I read is that a third of the movie as it exists now was done in reshoots.
Oh, wow.
That they screened it was longer, and he was like, this completely doesn't work. Deborah Hill, who's his producing partner, co-writer at this point, and had been Halloween and everything, was like, the audience is going to be expecting gore. That's what's like de rigueur right now, especially because you are the post-Halloween guy. We have to put a little more gore in there. And he also just thought the story was kind of like incoherent. It wasn't tracking. The film was dull. So like that entire, I think, opening attack sequence, not opening, but in the first act,
The killing of the fisherman, that's all new.
That's all new. The John Houseman opening is new. He didn't have that as framework, and he was like, the audience cannot track what's going on. I need an old man with a stopwatch to explain it at the beginning.
Also, we never go back to him, right? Like it's just like an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Because it was reshoots.
Crazy.
He wasn't supposed to be there.
He's the crypt keeper.
Yes, exactly. It's Twilight Zone.
It's such a funny thing where it was just like, oh, this movie doesn't track. Let me hire an Academy Award winner to come in and do like a 5-minute monologue and just kind of set the table for the movie and then never go back to it ever again.
But it also feels like, because like with Halloween 2, you know, Carpenter sort of produces that, and that movie comes out, a year after this, like, and also comes in and adds in more gore because he's like this thing.
Yeah.
He does seem to be a little afraid of the shadow of Halloween, where he's like, I've created this monster. Now everyone's doing horror movies that are even more intense, and I have to match it if I'm going to work in the genre. And Cronenberg apparently was one that really startled them. Like when Cronenberg movies start coming out, they're like, holy shit, like, how is he getting away with this? You know? And so it's the Fog, Halloween 2. I feel like there's another thing I'm thinking. I mean, it just feels like by the thing, it's like, he's like, all right, you know, okay, I feel like now I am the king again. Like, you know, I know what I'm doing.
He's like, back away, peasants. Just let me do my work. Like, and you're like, yes, do it, please.
I've seen I guess I'm the only. Ben, had you seen The Fog before?
No.
Okay, so I'm the only one to see The Fog. I love The Fog. The Fog rules. But I love it for its sort of janky, dark ride kind of, you know, where the monsters almost are just these little shambling, you know, nobodies that you barely see, and it's a lot of chat, and it's a lot of just like, you know, sort of what's up in this little town. Like I like it as a sort of, you know, airport paperback thing, and I love the colors, and I love the score, obviously. I love the whole mood of The Fog, but I do not find The Fog particularly frightening, and I assume Carpenter was worried about that.
I find it unnerving. Like, I think it builds up a very good energy. Like, I don't know. I woke up early. I couldn't sleep, and I was like, fuck it. Am I going to watch the Fog remake? Like,
oh, God.
You know, so many of Carpenter's films been remade that I was like, I didn't want to commit to the idea that I would have to do it for every episode, but I was just like, fuck, let me just see. Because I also know that one's like despised.
No one likes that one, right? Yeah, no one's a fan, right?
Not just within the realm of Carpenter remakes, but I feel like in the 2000s, the surge of like remaking all the 70s and 80s horror movies, most of which were successful, The Fog was notoriously like one of the least successful and one of the least liked. And I made it 30 minutes in before it failed my, do I want to keep watching this or take a nap test?
It's Tom Welling, right?
It's Tom Welling and Maggie Grace and Selma Blair. And Tom Welling essentially plays ostensibly.
Yeah, well, at that point.
Yes. Selma Blair's playing Adrienne Barbeau, Maggie Grace is playing Jamie Lee Curtis, Tom Welling is playing Tom Adkins, but the three characters are fundamentally not the same, and most of the things are changed in the movie. But the thing I noted, the one thing of sort of an interesting comparison point before I shut off the movie and slept for 45 minutes was that that movie's all CGI fog. And
interesting.
CGI fog is not scary. I feel like this is a problem that is constantly mistake that's constantly made in Hollywood, where they do like scary clouds as a villain. Green Lantern has its scary cloud.
Yes.
And Fantastic Four: Rise of Silver Surfer turns Galactus into
I
a
was
cloud.
just thinking about Galactus. What a terrible
the
depiction
worst.
of Galactus. I have a lot of feelings about
yeah.
Galactus. It's
Please,
terrible.
I'm sure you are deep in your feelings about how to do cosmic Marvel shit. But like that is like the most
so much.
cowardly, unimaginative, boring fucking thing in the world.
Yeah, Fantastic Beasts. You mentioned that, right? That has
Yes,
the whole cloud.
Fantastic
right.
Beasts. He's an evil cloud too. I feel like Loki did like an okay evil cloud in one episode, but it also was like a minor threat in one episode. Like that's the other thing. Like they just treated
What episode
like,
was it in? I've only seen 3 of them.
it's in the
fifth.
second to last, right?
Yeah, the thing that was good about the cloud in Loki, and I won't spoil too much, is just like the cloud is supposed to be a lot of sound and fury, not signifying that much. Like it's not the ultimate bad guy.
The cloud is like the projection of the Wizard of Oz. Like it's a sort of
Right. It's to scare you off, not the
Right.
actual thing you need to defeat.
right.
Yeah, because smoke and fog can't hurt you.
well, this is
I don't know.
It's just not effective.
Smoke
Like,
can
it's-
definitely hurt you. Do not go around breathing in smoke.
make me cough. Yeah, and move away from it. What, like, come on.
Also, the thing about the fog is like, fog, it's like, as we've all experienced fog in our lives, the only time fog is actually scary is when you're driving and trying not to crash into other people.
Sure.
Like, that's the only time fog is scary. Fog is not scary.
That's a good point.
And so, like, it's not like the dark where you're like, the dark can't hurt you, but like, you can't see anything in the dark. You really can't. And like, the dark is everywhere. Whereas fog is like, oh, I'm in San Francisco. How pretty. You know? Like, so that makes it trickier. I love the idea, like, there are things in the fog, like the mist and blah, blah, blah. But like, and I honestly, I love that they're like leprous, like sailing sailors, you know? But like, I don't know. It is tricky because then like, for me, the most successful part of the movie was actually the woman in the lighthouse. Like, I love that. The fact that she could like see the fog coming in and say like, it's here, it's here, it's here. And then you see everyone kind of dealing with that. Like, I really like that bit of the movie.
I completely agree. I think that is, if you're gonna, the success of the fog, of any like slow villain in a horror movie, right, is the weird dread of like, I know it's coming, I can see it coming, there's not much I can do about it, and I'm like, I'm realizing I'm doomed, right? Like the weird reverse, of that.
Well, this is the thing I was gonna say about the CGI fog is that like when I'm watching some fucking movie where there's just like CGI mist at 2005 standards, so like particle physics are not as good in low budget CGI as they are now. It's not scary when I'm like, well, you're controlling that. You're trying to make the fog look scary.
Right.
You're giving the fog an intentionality. You're having it move in a set pattern. There's something maybe not scary, but a little bit eerie about the way that Carpenter shoots fog, where like it's so slow pouring out. There's a randomness to its like dissipation, obviously the way he's lighting it, like it does give it that kind of like eerie, like, oh, what is this stuff kind of thing. But he also just slows the fuck down, and a lot of it is like his score sort of feeling like the musical embodiment of this slow, weird, creeping, persistent thing. But I think, there was this quote here where in our notes, so the idea of the fog provides a framework in which I've always wanted to work. There are opportunities to do certain cinematic things with ghosts that can only be done in movies. You don't really see the ghost in the fog as much as you think you do. The fog moves around, it glows, it comes through window panes. I think that audiences are going to have fun with that. I think that's like his whole idea in this, is that like, oh, you can have the camera kind of function like the fog, right? You can sort of do the It Follows thing where a camera slowly creeping in suddenly has a different power to it.
I was thinking about It Follows. Yeah.
But you can also like be looking constantly at the corners of the frame saying like, oh fuck, is fog coming in here? Like it's just setting up this sort of looming threat of this thing that can slowly kind of seep in.
Right.
But like ghosts are like, ooh, like they make a noise.
Sure.
Oh, you need noise?
I felt like the fog should have had a voice, like, I'm the fog, here I come. The fog, here I am. Like it needed sound. Do you know? Like I feel like it would have really maybe like made like more tension.
Ben, let's just acknowledge the amount of smoke and vapors you have deliberately inhaled in your life have probably killed any possibility of you ever finding fog scary.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. If anything, I'm like, let me puff on that.
You are the fog.
That is the fog.
Yeah.
I think what we're talking, like, it's a reversal. Again, he's not going to do a movie where someone's going to jump through the window at you. Like, you can't really do jumps with fog. You can't make Halloween again. So he's in a horror space, but he's in like the opposite kind of horror space. And a lot of this movie is daytime.
A lot of this movie is daytime. That's the thing I like about it a lot. I feel like he's experimenting with some different types. I mean, I like this movie maybe less than you, David, but I like it.
Oh, it's so good.
I find it, very interesting watching it in the prism of watching all of his movies now and seeing like the way he's evolving and this so much as a reaction to Halloween. But yes, I think he's experimenting with different sort of vernacular of horror movies after making this movie that everyone is now ripping off and will continue to rip off for decades. He's immediately trying to like change the script and go like, can you be scary in this setting? Can you do this? I mean, even the scenes that take place at night, the fog is bright.
Yeah.
Like when the fog enters a room, it gets lighter, which is the opposite of how most of these films work. I also think like you have Michael Myers, who immediately becomes so iconic, right? Is like arguably, I mean, maybe ARP is going to tear me a new one and correct me in our Halloween episode, which we haven't recorded yet. But like that sort of feels like the first like slasher villain of that level who really becomes like a star in that kind of sense, and certainly has that visual power. And in this movie, it's like Blake is just kind of whispered about most of the movie. You barely see any physicalization of them. It's only at the end. And then like I knew that like this company I like had made an action figure of Captain Blake, and so I kept on waiting for the whole movie to see him, because I knew what this fucking action figure looked like. And then I was like, what did they base this fucking toy off of? He's a silhouette with red eyes. Like, you never get to see fine detail on this guy.
Yeah.
I don't know what the costume looked like on set, but he like pointedly never...
Is the toy very clear?
The toy,
is he just-
I'll post the photo. The toy is hyper clear.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, that's
yeah.
so funny.
And
it's very Pirates of the Caribbean. It's a zombie guy with a sword, and he's got belts, and he looks like a zombie pirate.
Yeah, when that saber came out, I was like, wait, I was also because I was like, I didn't, because they're not actually pirates, they're just like some dudes, right?
They are not pirates. They are like a clipper ship or whatever. They're not pirates. It's just they're merchants or whatever. But the
the period dress. They all look like pirates to me.
Do you just not vibe with pirates, Nia? Like the pirates, you're just like inherently goofy.
No, I actually I really want to make a TV show about pirates.
Really?
Like, I love pirates. I think pirates are the best.
Pirates are cool.
Pirates are awesome. I mean, they're cool, and also they're very interesting intellectually, but I won't get into that. But they're just fucking cool. So are like privateers. Like, they're just very interesting to me. I was just like, I feel like the story of the ghosts wasn't like, they had no real connection to anyone in the town except for the priest, who we only saw in the beginning and the end, and I guess in the middle for a second. Like, I wanted there to be more like stakes for like anyone besides just like death.
Yeah, because I think that like this is one of those movies with a novelization where the novelization is like, they're all the victims are related to the people who originally did this terrible thing, and all, and the movie is kind of leaving that to you mostly. It's kind of like, you figured it out, right? Like, come on, the town, the people did it. Yeah.
There's supposed to be the 6. That's why he keeps on saying it's 6. There's supposed to be the 6 living descendants of the people who perpetrated the crime against them.
Right.
The movie could probably benefit from stating that at some point.
Yeah. Whatever. Hal Holbrook.
Did they say that in the movie? I mean, I know they said 6 will die. Did they say in the movie? Oh, okay.
They never say it. It's implication. Yeah, but it's pretty vague implication at that.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so no, because yes, this is a film, right? The ostensible lead is Adrienne Barbeau. She's mostly in the lighthouse, sort of running point, watching everything happen. But then you've got Tom Atkins and Jamie Lee Curtis kind of on the ground, like moving from location to location, right?
I love those two. They were great.
They're great. I love Tom Atkins, who is in lots of he's in Escape from New York, he's in Halloween 3. I love that guy. He's such a guy.
Yeah, and like a horror movie legend. Yeah, I feel like he's like
because
a king of conventions guy. But then also
this is his kickoff.
Yes, this is a kickoff. But then, he does like Night of the Creeps, and he just becomes one of those guys who's like a superstar in this corner of
I like
the industry.
That's what I love about it, because he's just such a like regular ass dude. He's kind of like bulky, and he's got a stash a lot of the time. And he's
really,
he
looks like such a regular guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great.
I love that it's like they have that conversation in the car, and she's like, "You're not weird, are you?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm weird."
Hell
and then
yeah.
I feel like I looked away for a second, I looked back, and she's just like naked and
Jumped his bones.
Hell yeah.
like, this is great. I was like, I like this so much.
She's a weird chaser. She's literally looking for some strange at any given moment, and she pounces on him.
Correct. I love that, right, in 1980, where it's like, most people, as we know, are normal, but we don't like that, right?
Exactly.
I do like narrative how kind of narratively how spread out it is. Like, I feel like so many horror movies of this era are like a crew that's getting picked off one by one. And this is sort of the splintered narrative where you have like Atkins and Curtis, you have Barbeau in the lighthouse, you have Holbrook trying to like solve stuff. They're your three main points. Barbeau's son as well. Like, it's about them slowly coming together to face this thing rather than starting with one group and winnowing it down, which I think is an interesting way to do it, because it also like feel like a lot of horror movies like this, not even horror movies like this, horror movies in general, you'll have your like main cast and then you'll cut away to like some set piece with some character you're only being introduced to at that moment to get killed off,
Yeah.
Or the first character killed off.
Or you have to come up with some crazy reason for them to split up.
Right. And then the first character killed off in the group.
So that you can't have that narrative, yeah.
Yeah, the first character killed off in the group, you haven't gotten to know that well. It's kind of nice that you get a sense of how like pervasive this is across the town, because everyone's split off, but also everyone's surviving, other than that one group of boat guys, and then the babysitter later. It's like
The babysitter.
The babysitter gets it bad.
That was so funny. I was like, oh my god, she literally just got pulled into the fog. Like she was just like, oh, and the way it happened was so awkward. She's just like turning around very slowly. Like, oh, and then she just disappears while the little boy closes the door. I was like,
It's also funny after Carpenter makes like the definitive babysitter horror movie.
Yes.
That he's like, I want to make it clear, it's not just about young women. I'll kill old babysitters too.
Yeah, you got a nice old lady babysitter. She better stay away from that fog.
I'm not passing judgment on high schoolers. You can get
right.
the elderly next door neighbor. I'm still gonna fucking kill her.
Yeah. It's so funny. I was like, oh Lord. Oh man, I actually really like that part. And I really love the woman in the lighthouse. And I thought she was like gonna sacrifice herself or something so that she'd keep reporting on the fog, which is ridiculous. But I was like, oh my god, she's just gonna stay here and let everyone know where the fog is gonna come in so she can save as many people as possible. Why did I think that? I don't know, but
it's also lighthouses. They're very romantic.
Oh, well, I do want, we should talk at length about living and working in a lighthouse because it seems really cool. But the part in the movie where she's just yelling, "Save my son," I had this thought, what if you just picked up that radio station the town over and you're like, what is happening?
oh my god.
It's just fog, guys. It's not that
God,
big a deal.
lady, get a break.
It's like War of
Come
the
on.
Worlds or some shit.
But this lighthouse still exists. You can go visit it. It's up in Marin County, California, up in the Bay Area. And it's very I mean, lighthouses are cool. Do we all agree that it might it's like everyone fantasizes about like this sort of weird solitary existence out there?
Well, not after I saw that who's that one with the black and white thing with the mermaid?
The Robert Eggers movie.
Oh, Ben's favorite
Yeah,
movie.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
With the vagina. With the vagina is a good way to put
I guess
the
it was more of a
lighthouse.
cloaca or something.
But
I was like,
there's a lot of openings.
so
in
that ruined lighthouses for me.
Yeah, Ben bought a lighthouse after seeing that movie.
He's like, mermaids with vaginas. Come to get me a lighthouse.
Farting with my friend. Yeah, I gotta do this.
Yeah, Nia, new development is that on a recent episode, Ben just casually referred to him as Bob. Bob Pattinson.
I know him like that.
He didn't even say Pattinson. He just said first name basis Bob.
That's right.
There's a lot of lighthouse movies, I guess, because come on, right? Aren't there other lighthouse movies? There's The Light Between Oceans.
Sure. Very scary. A deeply, deeply terrifying film.
Oh, there's lights. There's that one about the Tooth Fairy.
Oh, Darkness Falls?
Yes.
Darkness Falls and ends with her smashing her with a lighthouse light, right?
Yes.
And she says, I see you, bitch, and like smashes her with a thing. And I remember being like, can we stop having like something bitch be like the big ending of a horror movie before you defeat the whoever? I'm like, this is so 2006.
Obsessed with calling monsters bitches, yes.
They also, he should have, I mean, Freddy drove that into the ground. There were no bitches left in horror after Freddy was done with his original run of movies. But also, I feel like a Tooth Fairy movie, you should end with some fucking tooth pun. Don't just call her a bitch. Say like, here's the ugly tooth or something. You know, here's a...
Well... Is that what they have to say? Is here's the ugly tooth?
Yeah, they should maybe say here's the ugly tooth.
There's
you can't handle the tooth.
You can't handle the tooth, right? There's Shutter Island that has a good lighthouse.
Sure.
Good.
Oh yeah.
Annihilation had a good lighthouse.
Oh, okay.
You know,
for sure.
Season 2 of Dolly and M on HBO.
Did not watch season 2 of Dolly and M.
Terrifying.
Is there a lighthouse in it? What happens in season 2?
They go to a lighthouse to write their TV series or something?
Sure.
Or book.
Right.
I can't remember what they're doing, but they go to a lighthouse to write it.
It does actually sound scary.
Yeah. No, I couldn't do it. I mean, lighthouses are too small. Also, they're very bright, I assume, all the time.
I guess so.
Well, not all the time. It's like, it goes around in a circle, so it's only a little bit.
Yeah, but Ben, you're on the inside.
Yeah, it's everywhere you go, Ben.
Well, yeah, but it still shines. It's everywhere around you.
Exactly.
I do feel like, a lot of lighthouse movies, I guess, like the isolation of it, and then also sort of like the fear of like, oh, you're at like the most extreme vantage point, right? You're at like an elevated height. You have this light shining. You can see the threat before anyone else. I like that in this, it's like her chill ass radio studio, that it's like this very kind of cool vibe. She's also really good in this.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those things where you're like, oh, he like marries the actress from his TV movie and then makes her the lead of his next movie. This is her first film. Like, what's this performance going to be? And she has like such command as a broadcaster. Like you actually buy this as a compelling radio show, which I feel like is where a lot of movies fail, is when you ask a performer to be a different type of performer and you don't believe that they actually could hold that position. Like in the remake, Selma Blair plays this like Sarah Koenig from Serial 10 years before podcasts are a thing. Like her radio broadcasts are like, hey, everybody, I hope you're all doing well out there. I'm going to play another tune for you. And you're like, no one would listen to this. And Adrienne Barbeau, I'm like, this is like, she's like alluring. This is like a good vibe. She's confident. Yeah.
I do want to point out, she had been Maude's daughter for 6 years on Maude. She was a solid, she was a well-known, figure. She wasn't a total nobody.
But even still, I feel like sitcoms were... Yes, and we're a real career silo at that point. People didn't come out of sitcoms to do movies, and certainly to do movies in a different genre, I think they were sort of judged harshly.
I mean, she's certainly, like, not the worst performance in the movie. There were a couple that I was like, what is happening right now? It was very confusing. I was a bit alarmed.
But you do have Janet Leigh, obviously, Psycho royalty, as the matriarch of the town, kind of, I guess, like that she's sort of the mayor's wife, right?
Yeah,
she keeps calling her assistant stupid to her face. What the fuck is up with that? So rude.
You got Holbrook. I'm very much loving everything Holbrook's given me.
Yeah.
As the priest. He's just sort of instant gravitas for me. But yeah, everyone else, I don't really know.
What do we call that gravitas?
Yeah. Oh wow, coming for Hal Holbrook,
Coming for
Grandpa Hal.
I know. Listen, I just feel so many
Please.
things. You know what it is too? I think like for whatever reason, I don't know if all his stuff is reshoot stuff, but like the staging and blocking of all of his scenes were so awkward, especially in the beginning. It was like when the stone comes out of the masonry to reveal his grandfather's like book or whatever, or box with the book in it.
Yes.
It was like his face close, a rock, the wall. I was like, wait, what is this? And I was like, oh my God, I feel like a studio note coming into my brain, like a really stupid one. And I just felt like so disoriented. Because, you know, studio would be like, I don't understand. Can you do a wide? You know? But I kind of was like, I don't get what's happening. Like, I felt slightly belligerent watching this movie.
It feels like there is a little more precision to the stuff that I either know he reshot or assume was part of the reshoots. Like even the opening Houseman sequence has a little more visual precision to it than that opening Holbrook sequence. I agree is a little bit.
You mean that smash zoom
Yeah, it's a little confusing.
that came out of nowhere?
Yeah.
I was like, whoosh, and then it cut in the zoom. I was like, what? It was like, oh man, it was actually my favorite shot in the entire movie.
I wonder if it was like a lack of shoot days thing or just him trying to experiment with other stuff that didn't work. And then, I mean, obviously, as he said, when they screened it, he thought it was really bad. Like it was fully terrible. And he shot new stuff to try to salvage it. And I think it wasn't just story stuff or gore. It was also to try to put some style into the movie, ostensibly. David.
Yeah.
We've been in this year together.
That's true.
Deep sigh.
Yeah, look, I was waiting for you to say deep sigh. It's been a bit of a deep sigh year, Griff.
It's been a bit of a deep sigh year. We thought it was going to be a woohoo year. Instead, it's become a year.
It's become a bit of a dope year.
It has. Look, I was hoping this year I would not have a cow, but in fact, many cows are being had.
Well, look, if you're looking for some comfort, okay, it sounds
That's
like
all
you are.
mine. I don't want to have to share it with you. I want comfort that's all mine.
Brooklyn Inn has a soothing starter kit of loungewear that feels like a security blanket, okay? It's like this ridiculously comfortable bedding, and it's in socially acceptable wearable styles, okay? So it's like you can sort of wear your security. You don't have to just retreat to your bed where your, many Brooklynins are already piled. You can put on Brooklinen and walk around in it too. You can basically wear a comforter all day.
I believe I'm wearing a Brooklyn shirt right now. And as Mr. Burns would say, it's excellent.
That's right. It's loungewear that's the socially acceptable equivalent of wearable duvets. That's how they put it. They've sent us, Griff, like you said, some tees. They got tanks. They got joggers. They sent me some sweats. I chose a nice sort of olive sweat. It's all button free. It's zipperless.
Soft.
Very soft. Okay. Now, we all know Brooklinen. They've been with us for years. They got ridiculously soft fabrics. Okay.
Yeah. Rich and Vicky.
Rich and Vicky came up with it, and we stan. And
goals,
if you ever,
relationship goals.
And with the innovation here is like you're going to be asking yourself, does it come without buttons and zippers?
I ask myself that constantly.
For you, yes. So it's going to project athleticism. You'd almost have to leave the couch to live up to it. That's their little joke. You know what I mean?
And it's funny, and I give them comedy points. And if you're looking for more ways to enhance your comfort, David, Brooklyn's like getting into sort of lifestyle stuff. They got candles, eye masks, accessories to celebrate your chill.
They want you to turn your head 5 degrees in your house and see another Brooklyn Inn product.
Right. It's not just about wearing things or sleeping in things that make you comfortable. It's about creating a palace of comfort.
They've got bundle deals, okay? So you can get more comfort for less money. That's why they have 75,000 5-star reviews and counting. And Griffin,
that's a lot.
I want to tell you, about a call to action, which is go on, get comfortable, get it for less at Brooklyn. And go to brooklinen.com and use promo code blankcheck to get $20 off with a minimum purchase of $100. That's BROOKLINEN.com and enter promo code blankcheck for $20 off with a minimum purchase of $100. That's brooklinen.com, promo code blankcheck. That's it.
That's it. Jamie Lee Curtis, of course, like everyone always talks about how Trading Places was such a career reinvention for her, that it was like such a seismic change for her to go from horror to comedy. And like in a modern era, you don't think about that being as much of a hill to climb, of being that stuck in one genre. But I didn't realize the extent to which her career is like TV appearances. Halloween's her first movie. Then her second movie is The Fog. Then she does Prom Night and Terror Train within the same year. She has 3 horror movies in 1980. Then she does Road Games, another horror film, 1981, in the same year as Halloween 2.
Right, exactly. And then her next movie is Trading Places.
Yeah.
It was truly like, I guess she's the first and the greatest scream queen to like actually jump ship, whereas like all the other sort of so many of the other classic scream queens are, that's what they are, like Heather Langenkamp or whatever, like you're
Barbara Crampton, and
you're always going to be going to like Fangoria conventions and stuff like that.
Right.
Like it's a great, it's there's cool status to it, but that's what you are.
Meanwhile, Jamie Lee Curtis married a lord.
She did. She married a lord and a great comedian all in one.
Yeah. I'm just like, I love everything going on for her. I just feel like it's great.
Have you seen any lords where you're at?
Great.
Like on the streets,
Great
walking around?
question, Ben.
Yeah.
Great question.
Yeah.
We should mention right now, because David probably doesn't know this, that you are currently in England. Yeah.
Wait, what?
What? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I do know that.
Oh, where you're from?
Yes, thank you. That's
people
where
talk
I'm
about
from.
it all the time here, David. They're like, when are you coming back?
When's David
What?
They're
coming
like, our
back?
prodigal son.
They miss him. That's right.
They're like, our prince had a child. When are they bringing?
Yes.
When is the prince bringing his child to be christened at St. Paul's Cathedral?
Well, because every New English citizen has to swear an allegiance to the Queen, of course. So I have to bring to like kiss the Queen.
Now you're gonna have to bleep out her name.
Bleep her name out.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I will.
Anyway,
Untitled Marvel Studios 2021.
yeah, right. Whatever her name is, Forcat. But
they have your place in the House of Lords waiting for you, David.
I am no lord. I do not have a peerage awaiting me in England. But maybe one day for services to podcasting, maybe I'll get a lordship. Yes.
They do give OBEs for that.
Right, exactly. I mean, if you've ever seen Christopher Guest in like Girlfriends or one of those like 70s movies, he was hot. He was a cutie.
Sorry, I thought you meant Girlfriends, the like UPN
Not the
show,
UPN
and I was
sitcom.
like,
No.
I was like,
the 70s
that's
indie
amazing.
movie.
Nia, you don't remember that Christopher Guest did 2 seasons in the main cast of UPN's Girlfriends?
Yeah, I knew he was one of the girlfriends, but I really
Tracy Ellis Ross, Golden Brooks, Christopher Guest.
the lost tapes. Yeah, Girlfriend had some really good guest people.
Yeah.
Kelsey Grammer, obviously, he produced the show. He was in it.
Kelsey Grammer produced Girlfriends?
He was one of the creators of Girlfriends.
Kelsey Grammer, Mogul. He was kind of in Mogul mode. Those final seasons of Frasier.
I'm obsessed with Kelsey Grammer.
Get Kelsey Grammer in a
I
movie.
watched all of Frasier this year, and I feel like his personal life is distressing. So
Sure.
I can't be around that chaos.
He's got a lot going on.
Yeah, but he is so phenomenal as an actor. It's absolutely insane. Like watching Frasier, you're like, oh, this is like, the entire cast is amazing, but like he is so fucking good.
Down Periscope. I mean,
Ben.
sorry. Okay.
It's wild watching Cheers, where his character is supposed to be like an antagonist, right? Like he's supposed to be like the fucking asshole who steals the love interest. And then he is so funny on that they're like, we're going to keep you around and make you this guy's friend. That like,
So good.
Diane leaves the show and his character is Sad Sack, who goes to the bar with the guy who stole his fiance. even though she eventually left him too. And then it just becomes about his own failing marriage. He's so good.
Well, to
Yes.
BB Newirth, which is just an amazing. It's all so good.
BB Newirth is. This might be my hottest take ever. BB Newirth might be the best performance across the run of Cheers.
Oh, you know what? I can talk with that.
I mean, I think you can make the argument just because she's so good, but it's kind of one of those things where it's like, there's probably 4 or 5 names you could say
Yes.
there, and no one would really be able to fight you.
I just think it's kind of the most impressive character work, and she never misses. Like, Coach is my favorite character, but I think
Coach. Yeah.
I think she might be the best performance, Lilith. The Jamie Lee Curtis thing, I just, in my mind, I feel like as a kid when I would fucking read things about like movie history, watch documentaries or whatever, I wouldn't understand the way that people would talk about like perception in that way of like, can you believe Jamie Lee Curtis overcame becoming a scream queen? And I'd be like, why would like an actor being in one type of movie prevent them from being believable in a different type of movie? I think the industry has sort of moved past that to a certain degree now, to some degree. But like, you really look at the 70s and the 80s and even the 90s, and it really was like, if you're a sitcom star, you're a sitcom star. You're a TV actor, you're a horror person, like all this sort of shit. She just went so hard on horror for like 3 years there, and most of them were very successful, that I guess it really did feel like she was making her bed with that one genre, and then Trading Places felt like kind of like revelatory. But she is interesting in that, like, as opposed to some other people, she never sort of like cast aspersions on horror. No. She never kind of like looked back on it with disgust. Right, she does Halloween again 20 years later, and then 20 years after that, but she'll also do shit like Scream Queens, and she did that documentary, what's it called, Terror in the Aisles?
I didn't know that. What?
Yes, it's like it was a big hit in the, well, not a big, but a medium-sized hit in the 80s that's like a documentary about horror movies.
Oh, cool.
But it was like sort of like that's entertainment of horror at the time, right? Like it was sort of a compilation of the scariest scenes in movies that became like a commercial success. But that's right. That's 84. That's the year after Trading Places. Like she sort of wore her crown as a scream queen while also saying like, I'm going to do other things as well, which is kind of an impressive balance to pull off.
Of course, her mom is Janet Leigh, in case people don't know that.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Oh, I always forget that, even though she literally is in this movie. She doesn't, we don't have any scream queens now though. Like, I know Neve Campbell, they were trying to make into a scream queen, but I was like, that doesn't count. Doesn't work.
Neve Campbell's probably the closest. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Right. But who jumps from like franchise? Like, there's no one, right? I mean, because now it's like you remake A Nightmare on Elm Street, you bring in Rooney Mara, you bring in just like a sort of very talented young actor for a role like that. I'm trying to think, like,
and then they sort of can't get out of horror fast enough.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of like, okay, fine. I did my horror movie. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there are examples.
Also, there's not enough original horror, right? Like you can't just go from like franchise to franchise in
That's
horror.
a good point.
Right.
Yes,
because everything we're remaking used to be original.
I mean, Emma Roberts has done a lot.
That's true. Yeah.
Vera Farmiga has done a lot of horror, I guess. Ethan Hawke weirdly does a lot of horror.
That's
now.
true. And Patrick Wilson.
Well, we love that. That. I mean, that's more like, it's like, well, this is where I can make a smaller scale movie that's not like, a studio breathing down my neck, right? And like, if you're Ethan Hawke, you're like, and I can cut a deal where I actually get a lot of money if the movie hits.
But also those people you just listed, like Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson in particular, feel like they're occupying more the Donald Pleasance space, where it's just like, rather than being like the young star who cuts their teeth in horror. Right. You're bringing pedigree to it. Yeah. I feel like there are people on the indie level who have kind of scream queen status like that I don't know.
That's the thing. There's names in the more like, streaming only.
What's her name from The Guest and It Follows?
Micah Monroe. Yeah.
Micah Monroe. Yeah. She's done her horrors.
Mm-hmm.
There have to be people who have done like 5 Glass Eye Pix movies that I don't realize within a niche community are viewed as legends,
Yeah. They're on a lot of Shudder originals, maybe.
Right.
It's hard to imagine someone having the Jamie Lee Curtis arc, though. It's hard to imagine someone like
100%.
having a horror movie that's that much based around them, be that big of a hit, and then go make like 4 more horror movies that are sold on them.
Right.
At least largely or partially.
Yeah.
You know?
But also the thing is with Jamie Lee Curtis is like when Halloween comes out, it's like, holy shit, you know, why aren't we making 5 of these a year? And so then everyone starts to make them so quickly because it's like, we got to get on this train. It's the hottest thing. And so absolutely there are suddenly roles where it's like, yeah, come do prom night. You know,
it was almost like Liam Neeson post Taken, where they were like, we're writing a bunch of these scripts. Do you want to do all of them?
Do you want to do, at least a few, right?
Yeah.
Can we just take a short Liam Neeson detour?
Please, anytime, always allowed on this show.
I just feel like he like had such an interesting career, and feel similarly about Tom Cruise. It's like they both hit a certain age, and they were like, I will only do action films now. I will only be like insanely proficient at running, fighting, like spycraft, and I just don't. I mean, Liam does more like survivalist ones, but I'm just like, what is that switch? Griffin, please answer.
Yeah, I have my answers. I have my theories. David, you can correct me if you disagree on this. War of the Worlds breaks Tom Cruise, right? And the press hullabaloo around War of the Worlds, the Katie Holmes thing, the couch jumping, whatever. Weirdly, like, that movie is his last, like, not his last colossal hit, but like his last colossal hit before there's a dry period. He goes into the weeds and does like Valkyrie and Lions for Lambs and is trying to do his sort of like Tony or Cruise stuff. And then when he comes back to Mission Impossible, it's like, fuck, this is like the only stuff that works for me anymore. I need to just like stay here. And he has 3 directors he works with, right? He works with Christopher McQuarrie, he works with Joseph Kosinski, and he works with Doug Liman. He works with those 3 people. Yeah. Those are the 3 guys he has rapport with, whereas before he used to totally be a director-driven filmmaker. Like, he would seek out directors and then go like, what do you want to make? I'll give you my star presence. I'll add that to it. I'll give you the support. He also breaks up with his producing partner, and I think it's just a means of survival of like, how do I stay relevant as a movie star? What are the things I do well? What are the genres that are succeeding? I'm no longer capable of pushing a drama to $100 million. Like, he knows he couldn't make Jerry Maguire and have it be that level of hit today. And he doesn't want to make a movie that only makes $20 million.
What a shame, though, isn't it?
It's a shame. And I feel like...
Yeah. Damn.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. It feels like I would have predicted the same thing 10 years ago. But like, I feel like we're 5 years away from him being like, I can't run anymore. I resign. I become elder statesman. I relinquish the title of Tom Cruise, and I go back to being an actor.
Right. He could finally dip his toe in that again. I think it's also, he just knows that he can't be accepted as a regular human being anymore. I do think
which is true.
Yeah, I think that's why he makes action movies only now. He's not plausible as a regular human being after the Katie Holmes thing.
Sure.
People just don't buy it. And the closest he tried was Rock of Ages, and no one liked that.
Doesn't work.
Right. Like, that's the... Right.
Well, I don't like that movie.
Right. I mean, like, people stick up for his performance in a way, but like, it doesn't go over, and I think he's like, fine, just action. Okay.
Yeah. I enjoy Night and Day. Is that crazy? I don't know.
No, Night and Day has its fans.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kill myself and then her. I mean, come on.
But that's like, that was him trying to own, because there was that whole period then where he was like, I'm gonna do comedy. Like, I want to show that I have a sense of humor about myself because everyone thinks I'm so extreme. And there are all those stories about him like meeting with Judd Apatow and Seth Rogen, setting comedies up with Ben Stiller. And then the only 2 things that come out, that was announced. They were gonna do a Hardy Men movie that was Ben Stiller and Tom Cruise as the adult Hardy Boys.
Yeah.
Oh. Wow.
And that was going to be like a big fucking action comedy. But then the only 2 things that come out of that are Tropic Thunder, obviously.
Excellent.
And Night and Day is like him trying to do a funny Tom Cruise movie. And I think like Tropic Thunder worked, but he's obviously doing such a like heightened disguised character thing in that. And then Night and Day, he's trying to be funny within his Tom Cruise persona, and it didn't do well. I think he was like, okay, it's not, people aren't buying me being charming guy anymore.
But Liam Neeson, I feel like that Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's obviously it's like those roles are always there for him.
I have
post-Taken.
I have my answer, David. I have my thought.
Okay, go ahead.
Natasha Richardson dies.
Well, yeah, I know that, but that's so not to diminish how horrible that was. And he talked about that post-Taken, where it's like, right, I just want to do these movies where it's like, you know, very simple, and I know what's expected of me. But it has now been many years, and he has occasionally dipped his toe. Like he did the Mark Felt movie. He has that great scene in Buster Scruggs. Like, you know, he did Widows, which is sort of like a kind of like a high-end version of a Liam Neeson action movie.
Silence, he's fucking incredible.
Silence, it's a great performance. Obviously, he's only at the end, but right, you know, like
he's got snow crime movies, like Cold
No,
Pursuit.
but that's no. Yeah, but that's Griff. That's the other shit. And he's like, obviously,
the good
he did that movie, Griff, called what's it called, like Made in Italy. That's like,
yes, him and Leslie Manville.
It's like about a guy whose wife died. Like, you know, there's no, the one with Leslie Manville is called Ordinary Love. That's a cancer drama, right?
That's the one that what's his name? Brian Darcy directed, right?
No, he did Made in Italy.
Okay,
yeah, James Darcy.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
James Darcy directed Made in Italy, which is him and his son.
Yes, and that's like getting over the loss of your wife movie that's clearly about Natasha Richardson, right? You know, like, and so like he is dipping his toe back into it a little bit.
He is.
And I can see a world where I thought this might happen with Silence, but I think that movie was a little too alienating for Oscar voters. But like right where he has some kind of commanding, serious performance and gets his Oscar.
I really thought that was going to happen with Silence. Yeah. And even like seeing that movie.
Now, he did mess it up a little bit by doing a press tour where he couldn't stop talking about how he wanted to beat up a black guy.
Not the best press tour of all time, I will say.
Yeah, that was pretty bad, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I do feel like post that, everyone is sort of like, you know what? Why doesn't Liam just make movies where, he's a snowplow driver and he has to get revenge, or he's a grave digger and he has to get like where it's just.
It did feel like people were like, we don't want you to not work, but we want you to not try to get Oscars from us right now because we just need time. Like,
sure. Why don't you go chill for a second? So, right.
We don't want to have to deal with you.
but it's also the timeline is like he shoots Taken like 2 years before it comes out in the States because it comes out everywhere else in the world a year earlier. Like it was like a leftover movie released Super Bowl weekend that had already played everywhere else in the world that Fox had delayed like for over a year. And then that movie comes out, is this fucking like colossal hit out of nowhere. And then truly, I think it's a month or two later Natasha Richardson dies. Like those two events are so close together that this film that he had made 2 years earlier suddenly becomes like an American blockbuster. Then his wife dies. And he said as much in interviews where he was just like, I just started working. Like I didn't want to be alone with my thoughts. You know?
How dare you do his voice when he's talking about his dead wife?
I have to do a movie. I need to work.
But he just, I think, took every fucking script that was offered to him, you know? And it was a combination of him doing, like, all of these Euro thrillers, the best of which are the Jamie Colette-Serra ones, and also doing, like, shit like Clash of the Titans and what's the other one I'm thinking of? Like, things where it's like, this is a team where it's like, can you give us some prestige in our big action movie?
Yeah. Anyway, I love Liam Neeson in this movie.
He's great in this movie. In conclusion, I think Liam Neeson started not doing serious movies because he didn't want to deal with his emotions, and everyone was offering him all these silly action movies, and then he got addicted to being paid that much money to do those movies.
He must be so rich.
He must be so fucking rich.
And then when he's, Widows, he's so good in Widows. But he'd be good. He'd be good in The Fog.
He'd be good in The Fog. He'd be a great Captain Blake in a movie that was all about Captain Blake. Yeah, that's how I want Captain Blake to sound. Also, I just always mention this anytime Liam Neeson comes up a conversation. Liam Neeson, I believe, is the exact same age as my father. So anytime I watch a Liam Neeson action movie, I imagine my father doing the same scenes.
How old is your dad and how old are they?
Let's see.
Liam Neeson is now 69 years old.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, my dad and Liam Neeson, both the naughtiest age.
That is crazy.
That's the thing. Like, my dad should not be in action movies. I know that fundamentally, and then I watch Liam Neeson, and then I'm like, yeah, this guy's good.
He's good.
My God, I love
have
it.
you ever seen him in person? He is so tall.
Yes. He's David,
tall.
it's beyond him being tall. He's just one of the biggest people in the world.
He looks like a tree, like not like a station. He looks like an ent or whatever. He's
like a human Groot. He's like his hands are the size of my entire chest.
That's crazy. Can he just pick you up like this?
Yeah.
Boop.
Yes, he could with one hand. Nia, you're miming two hands. He could do it with one hand. He could just go like this. Like I was a
this
fucking
concerned
bottle of
me, like
soda.
You're just grabbing you by the crotch and holding you.
No,
hoisting
like
you up.
this.
Like that.
this.
Okay, great.
Like this. Yeah.
Like an ice cream
Yeah.
cone.
Yes. David,
Yes.
this podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. I don't know if you know that. I'm not trying to shake things up too much, but I wanted to make sure I said this very clearly.
It's an interesting angle, and I'm interested to see where you take it.
Here's a question for you.
Go ahead.
Is there something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals?
Right now?
Yeah.
On the planet Earth?
Yes.
Might there be something that is interfering with my happiness? No, I can't imagine. I don't know. There's a few stressors out there, I suppose. A couple things. Bacon my noodle.
Yeah, they're things that can grind your gears, and dare I say it, they can seep into your life like the fog.
Oh, that's true. Oh, invade it. And with weird glowy eyes. Yes. BetterHelp, who you mentioned, Griffin.
Yes.
That's a company that assesses your needs.
Mm-hmm.
It matches you with your own licensed personal therapist and gets you communicating in under 48 hours. Now, this isn't a crisis line thing. This isn't something you call just when you feel desperate. It's not self-help. This is just professional therapy, and it's done securely online, which, is a good way to do things right now, unfortunately, but it's a good way to do things right now.
Yes, this is like a good version of the fog. It slowly seeps into your home life, but gives you support and structure.
They got a broad range of expertise, which might not be locally available to you, right? It's available
otherwise
worldwide.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. You can log into your account anytime. You can send a message to your therapist. You'll get some timely, thoughtful responses. And then you can have a weekly video or phone session. You don't have to sit in a waiting room. It's more affordable than traditional offline therapy. Financial aid is available. These are nice things.
These are nice
about
things.
BetterHelp. Okay.
These are things that are nice.
You can visit betterhelp.com/check. That's better, H-E-L-P. And join the over 1 million people who've taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp, they're recruiting additional therapists in all 50 states.
Job creation.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the special offer for Blank Check listeners. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/check. That's it. Easy.
Yeah. Don't just, stay cooped up in your lighthouse broadcasting that you need someone to help your son. Let BetterHelp come to you.
You're really nailing the fog stuff here, and I love it. I love to see it.
Clean. I think it's very clean.
Very, very clean. Those guys needed some better help. I mean, I don't want to be rude about
They needed
Hal
some better
Holbrook.
help. Right.
They just needed some better help.
They needed some better help.
All right, back to that discussion, of course. Thank you. Goodbye.
Okay. Thank you. Goodbye.
So wait, David, can I ask you a question about the fog?
Of course.
What's your favorite part?
What my favorite part of the fog is
Yeah.
It's probably I mean, you're going to laugh at me, but it's probably the end. I love the glowing cross. I love the weird build of them. You finally see them. See, like, I also love the keep, which has a similar vibe to the fog. Glowing red eye enemy, weird synthy
Have you
score.
seen The Keep, Nia?
I love glowing red eyes. I've never seen The Keep.
The Keep
The Keep is a more messy movie than this movie,
Right.
obviously.
But The Keep and Fog
fun.
both have that vibe that I just find very intoxicating.
Yes. So I like all this. My favorite individual sequence that just I think about all the time is the sign starting to leak water and bursting into flame and stuff, just because it doesn't make any damn sense. And that and it happens in the daylight, and that kind of makes it all the creepier, because it's like, what are the rules of this? Like, the sign can change shape, and like,
I found a piece of gold, and then it turned into a sign, and then the sign started dripping, and then it got dry again.
Yeah, it's super cool. The fog, I just, it's just good vibes from the fog. Just good noises, good sounds, good colors.
Good vibes.
That's all I really need.
Yeah.
Much more than I need to be like truly scared out of my wits. What, Ben?
You reminded me, because like speaking of the rules of this, like another thing that came to mind is the dead body getting up and walking and then trying to stab Jamie Lee Curtis. Like,
and then he carves.
How does that
3.
work?
Carves a 3.
Well, he's got to tell him there's 3 to go.
I missed that.
Yeah.
3. Okay.
3 down, 3 to go.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, he's keeping count. He's the official tally guy.
A couple things I want to point out. Tom Atkins' character in this movie is named Nick Castle. Nick Castle is one of Carpenter's big collaborators going back to Dark Star, but is credited as playing the Shape in Halloween.
He's Michael Myers.
He's Michael Myers. He plays Michael Myers. But he goes on to do a lot of things, including he's one of these jack of all trades who's done like kind of everything in the industry. But he directs Last Starfighter, my favorite, but also co-writes Escape from New York. Or he gets some credit on that. Yes, he co-writes that. Anyway, this also, Blake, for the little time he is visible on screen, is played by Rob Bottin, who is another legend, a makeup legend. Works with
he did all the Verhoeven movies, right? He did RoboCop and Total Recall and all that, right?
Yes, he becomes Rick Baker's apprentice and lives with him and works on King Kong and Star Wars with Bottin. And then this really gets him started, and then The Howling the next year like makes him a name guy. But Rob Bottin, yes, like one of the best practical special effect guys ever.
Tommy Wallace is in it too, that's the guy who made Halloween 3. Like he just call it laziness or just call it him being cute or whatever. He just calls characters after his friends who he just made movies with.
I have a friend whose name I'm going to put in every movie.
Really? Have you put them in every film so far? Yeah,
her name is Jane G.
Wow.
Well, no, so she missed out on Little Woods, but I have Officer Minerath who's one of my friends. But Jane G is going to be in she's in Candyman, one-line role.
Okay.
By a comedian named Tien Tran, who's fucking hilarious.
So she's your little button that for people to notice or whatever.
Yeah, she's my little boop. Yeah.
Right.
Is this an exclusive scoop that Jane G will appear in the Marvels?
Yes, it is.
Wow. Huge.
Wow. Okay.
Huge new MCU character.
Huge new MCU character.
Yeah.
The hierarchy of power is about to change.
Jane G everywhere.
In the MCU.
Thanos, Galactus, Jane G.
Jane G trumps them all. One name makes them shake in terror.
I'm trying to. There's nothing else really in the notes that are.
Did you like the shots of just fog rolling in, David?
Yes.
Did you have a favorite shot of fog?
I love fog.
Listen, that fog was quite thick.
I'm from England. I'm from foggy London town.
Oh boy.
Yes. There's nothing. I like the rain. I like the atmosphere of fog. Maybe that's why I love this movie so much.
Wait, you like dampness? You like things wet? Is what you're trying to say?
Are you a damp dude, David?
Damn.
Yeah, I'm a damp.
Oh shit,
dude.
Damp dude 2021.
Help.
Okay.
I gotta say, I really like the energy that Carpenter's bringing out in Ben. We've only recorded a couple of these so far, but I really feel like Ben's
he's empowered.
He's empowered.
Oh man, no, it feels good.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, Ben is like, I'm here. He's like, hello.
Well, to be fair, as we mentioned on Nia's last episode, Ben was a volleyball.
So Ben was represented.
He wasn't swinging in as much. Right?
By a volleyball. Right. So this is a pretty stark contrast. But also, I'll say this. Like, I saw someone on the Reddit or something say, like, oh, I miss the presence of Ben now that Ben isn't always on the show. Ben is on the record, I would say 95% of the time.
Almost always.
The thing
Very
people
rare
don't
for him to
understand
not do
about Ben is very often we'll finish a record and he'll go, that was going well. The guest was so good. I didn't feel like I needed to butt in. I didn't say anything. Like, he's just sitting there silently.
Whoa, so what are you trying to say, Ben?
Okay, well, hey, that was Griffin.
Well, now you're in trouble,
and
Ben.
well, all right,
Now
I'm
you're
in
in
a
trouble.
lot of trouble, but I'm gonna try and talk myself out of it and say it's also because we'll have two guests on, and it's just like a lot of voices over Zoom, and it's just like you want to you don't want to interrupt the dance that
but
you're
it's also,
seeing.
of course, but it's also like sometimes you're not that taken with the movie.
That's what
Ben,
I
or
was
you're
gonna
whatever,
say.
You're not that pumped up about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, well, we'll finish recording and Ben will go like, I was going to do a bit where I was going to say this about this dumb fucking movie, but I didn't even feel like doing it, whatever. Whereas I feel like the shift in energy is Ben loves all of these movies. He's very excited about the fact that we're covering this filmmaker. And not only that, Ben is like doing research. Like, Ben is like coming to the table with episode with like fucking notes and books and shit.
I got a fucking book.
That is hilarious.
Right. So
I
he's
love
like
it.
jumping in because he's got shit to say.
Yeah, man.
He's
Yeah,
like, guys,
I'm so.
I have text.
I do. I have context because they're connoisseurs and I can never live up to it. So I've got a dang book. So yeah.
Yeah, I should have brought a fucking book. I don't know half the things you guys are talking about, if I'm being honest.
Well, we have
Look, we
I'm
have
piecing it
researchers
together with
now.
context.
we have
clues.
researchers. Yeah.
I'm like, what is film? What is movie?
What is
Should we play the box office game, Griffin, as we wind down this episode? Because I know Nia has to go pretty soon.
Yes.
Yes.
I feel so bad. I genuinely was looking at the timing of your other episodes, and they're all like 17 hours long, and I was like, oh no. It's like I saw one that was 3.5 hours. I was like, what?
Nobody needs to do podcasts that are that long.
Look,
Podcasts should all be 90 minutes long. God, I'm going to get so dragged for that take.
Nia, David is going to send you an edible arrangement for keeping this episode short. You have no idea.
He has a baby now. He has things to do.
Yeah.
I do have things to do. Yeah, she slept through the night last night.
Oh, that's
God,
great.
I hope I don't listen back to that being like, well, that was the only time that happened. Yep.
I was going to say this is I'm trying to get this timeline correct. The Fog remake and the Assault on Precinct 13 remake both come out the same year.
Yeah.
I guess Assault on Precinct 13 comes out first. Comes out in the winter,
Assault on
and this
Precinct
comes out in the
13
fall.
remake is totally solid. I like that movie.
Is entirely solid. Is written by
Yeah, I remember liking it when I saw it.
I mean, it's got a fucking great cast. Everyone in it is
Yeah, it
good
does.
and overqualified. James DeMonico wrote it, who did all the Purge movies, and also wrote the most terrifying of all American horror films, Jack.
Right, Jack.
He wrote Francis Ford Coppola's Jack. No film scares me more than Jack.
That movie was right. That was sort of like, it wasn't like a big hit or whatever, but everyone was fine with that movie. It got fine reviews.
But it's like
right.
a modest January performer. It got fine reviews. Everyone's good on it. Then the fucking Fog like stunk up the joint, and people were sort of asking Carpenter, because you have 2 in 1 year, like, what's the deal with these remakes? And he'd be like, I just like show up and I wave and I say hi and then I walk away. Like, because
I do want that. There's that quote that's so good. I mean, it is, it's classic Carpenter.
I mean,
you do it. Yeah.
Unless it's a different one that you're thinking of.
No, it's the one.
So people were like, why aren't you more protective of these movies? Like,
Right.
if you're not showing up, if you're not invested, he went, well, there's an interesting thing that happens every time they ask if they can remake one of my movies. They call me up, they say, they ask me, I say yes, and then I hold out my hand and a bunch of money just drops into it.
That's great.
This is the line I have where they're like, why are you letting them remake Escape from New York again? Which I guess that still hasn't happened, but that keeps getting announced, right?
Right.
He says, I love it if they're going to pay me money. If they pay me, it's wonderful. If they don't pay me, I don't care. I think it's unfair if they don't pay me. I think everyone should pay me. Why not? I'm an old guy now and I need money. Send me money.
Yeah,
That's
like,
his take.
Fog is the only one where I remember him being like, well, the original film, I had such a limited budget and I wasn't happy with how it turned out.
He was hopeful it
Yeah.
could be improved on.
Right, there's like a reason to remake this. And since then, he's just been like, pay me.
Yeah. You know what's a shame? The Thing remake, or it wasn't a remake technically, which they reveal at the end or whatever, that could have been really interesting, because that's like really the best way to go into that. It's like, oh, let's just figure out what the fuck that dog was doing before, and those Swedish people.
Right.
Like, that's cool. And then my recollection of it is like, despite the great cast, and it just didn't kind of
Good
do
cast.
what it needed to do. But like, that could have been really great.
Do you know the absurd thing about that movie? They were very adamant that they were like, this is going to be the movie to bring practical effects back. It's the thing. It's like the most famous practical effects movie ever.
Right.
They shot the whole fucking movie with makeups and animatronics. You can go on YouTube. You can see the tests. They look unbelievable. They shot it that whole way, and then the studio went, this looks corny, and made them redo it with CGI.
That sucks. Because, like, you look at Evil Dead, which is all that shit's practical, or like 95% of it's practical, and the rest of it's like,
Right.
And like, that is why I think that worked really well. Like, anyway, I could go on and on.
Totally. I just feel like, I think they also like cut that movie down, but I feel like there is a cut of that thing prequel that is good.
That's good. Yeah. I don't doubt it.
At the very least, is visually impressive. Because the tests that are out there are amazing. But it is interesting that people seem to kind of keep getting things fundamentally wrong when they remake Carpenter or sequelize it or whatever. I mean, like, the David Gordon Green Halloween is like, I feel like the first one that's like a hit and was well liked and approved
Pretty
by
much.
horror fans. And that was the one where they got him more involved, where they sort
He does
of
the score, and he's
I did the score. That's cool.
right.
consulted him.
But I mean that, and also
right, right.
That movie is such a loving. I don't think it's like completely successful, but
I don't
it's so obsessed with Halloween, with John Carpenter's Halloween, and much less with the Halloween mythos and universe or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Let's do the box office game, Griffin. Come on.
Please. Yes. No, that was all I wanted to say. That was the end of the things I wanted to say.
And I just very quickly wanted to say that John Carpenter appears at the beginning of this film, and he looks pretty good. Looks pretty hot.
We got that
cool guy.
wrong in fucking trivia once, and it will haunt me forever. Do you remember that,
we
David?
did?
There was a video
No.
round that was director cameos in movies, and we got that wrong.
Did we say it was a different movie, or did we just say it was a different guy?
I think we said it was a different movie, and I can't remember which one.
Right.
Yeah, it will haunt me for fucking ever. I just want to correct my earlier quote. The exact quote is, what Carpenter does in these remakes. Well, I'm a producer, but I come in and say hello to everybody, go home. I'm just a fucking bum, okay?
He's a bum.
Oh, I can't wait till I have that.
The number one, ironically, at the box office on February 1st,
Okay.
1980, is a slasher movie. Is a total Halloween ripoff. I've never heard of it.
Huh.
It's set at a boarding house, and there's a homicidal killer on the loose,
Huh.
stalking some co-eds. It just like sounds like fucking any of these things.
Oh, I've seen this. I know this movie. I know exactly what it is.
Really? What is it, Nia?
I've seen it. Wait, no. Then you would have heard this movie. I can't remember the name of it though. No, wait, no. You guys would have heard this movie. I think I'm thinking of a Criterion movie, which obviously would not have made it any money. So, but it's at a boarding house.
What movie is?
I can't remember what the one I'm thinking of was called.
Well, are you talking about what's it called? The Slumber Party Massacre?
No. Am I
Yeah.
thinking of Carnival of Lost Souls? No, that's not.
Okay.
That's not a boarding
Well,
house.
this movie is called The Silent Scream.
Oh yeah, I truly have never heard of that.
Ooh.
It was successful. It's a successful indie, release, a successful Halloween ripoff. Essentially.
You should clarify it is not the anti-abortion 1984 film, The Silent Scream, which is the first thing that pops up when you Google it.
No.
That is the first result that shows up. Very upsetting poster.
Jesus Christ.
No, it is not that. It is not. It is just some. I don't know.
Wow.
It's a slasher movie.
Wow. Okay.
That's number one at the box office. It's doing great. Number two at the box office is a very iconic movie of the year. We're gonna have some good box office games, Griffin. I'm realizing. It's I think it's the first Hollywood studio movie to show like its star's penis. I'm almost certain.
What is it?
American Gigolo?
American Gigolo?
It's American Gigolo.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any movie that had shown peen, at least not like star peen.
I mean, definitely a landmark
Before
film in on-screen peen.
Yeah.
It's also just a great movie. Obviously, just very, the Giorgio Armani suits and all that, and like the whole mood. Very early 80s. What's next? Number 3. It's the Best Picture winner, Griffin.
Number 3, the best
1979.
picture winner of 1979 is Kramer versus Kramer.
Yep, and the number 1 movie of
Yeah,
1979.
it just will never stop being astounding to think of that movie doing Endgame numbers.
Yes, it totally did. The number 4 is it's a star-driven movie. It's not a movie I've heard of it. I've never seen it. It's from a major director, but I feel like it's sort of a forgotten entry for these guys.
Okay.
It's a sort of like comedy drama. It's a Western, like a modern Western. It's about like an old rodeo guy who is retired and is trying to figure out his life.
What?
It's got all right. I'm going to tell you the stars.
2 guys in it? Okay.
It's Robert Redford and Jane Fonda.
Electric Horseman?
Electric Horseman.
Okay.
Which is directed by who, Griffin?
Sidney Pollack?
Yes. Not a movie I've
What?
ever seen.
No.
Wow.
It's a great title.
Good title, good stars. It was a hit. It made like $60 million. Like it was not a nothing, but I feel like it's just sort of not well known for any of these 3 people, like as one of their better entries.
I got this trivia question wrong recently, which is, what is the name of the most recent collaboration between Fonda and Redford?
Oh, it's that rom-com, right?
Exactly, but the question is, can you pull that title in a million years?
No.
No.
Yeah.
I knew exactly what movie it was, and I was like, I truly think you could give me 1 million years of concentrated effort,
Yeah.
and I would not remember the title of that film.
I've also seen that movie.
Me too.
Oh, it's called Our Souls at Night.
Never
Wow.
would pull
Love
that.
it.
Never.
Obsessed.
Yeah.
And I
don't think I could pull that one.
I got this wrong 2 weeks ago, and I already forgot. Well, his last film ever, of course,
Old
is
Man and the
Avengers
Gun,
Endgame.
right?
No, Avengers Endgame is his last credit ever.
Yes, love.
It's
that
Old Man
film,
and the
yeah.
Gun, after Our Souls at Night, and then him saying Hail Hydra.
That's hilarious. Bless his heart, because he was very purposeful about it being the Old Man and the Gun.
Yes.
The Old Man and the Gun is like the total swan song movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny.
And then right, he just sort of pops in Endgame being like, what's that over there?
Hail Hydra.
Who's this Loki guy?
Yeah. That's like Lowry told us he had shot Endgame, but it was top secret and they were promoting Old Man and the Gun. And the only question anyone wanted to ask him was, so is this it, Bob? Are you retired? And like, they couldn't answer it.
Yeah, right. That's
Right.
funny.
They were like, well,
That's so funny.
Number 5 at the box office, Griffin, is an action film. It's I think fairly early in this man's career.
Okay.
He's an action star, but one of the sillier ones.
Chuck Norris,
It's Chuck Norris.
of course. Had to be.
Yes. And I think it's like it's maybe his like second action movie, where he's like the star.
Delta Force?
It's not Delta Force.
Okay.
It's not The Octagon.
What a good title.
It's not Silent Rage.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to think of Chuck Norris movies.
The Enforcer, is that what that movie's called?
It's called, you're close. It's called A Force of One.
Okay.
And he is, I believe, the titular force of one. The tagline, he hears the silence, he hears the darkness. He's the only one who can stop the killing.
David, how funny would it be if he wasn't the force of one, if you watched the movie?
Can't believe we let him get away with his career for so long.
But I mean, here, I believe the plot of The Force of One is that there's a serial killer and the police decide to recruit a karate champion to find the serial killer. Like, it's where they're still trying to be like, so let's explain why this guy like kicks people.
It's the way Fast and Furious has to justify cars being the necessary tool for everything. Yeah. Nia, to go off of what you said, we let Chuck Norris get away with way too much.
A lot.
For far too
I was
long.
watching Walker, Texas Ranger with my grandma. Yeah, we just, I don't know. We gave him so much power.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah.
So much power.
Yeah, some other hits. We got Chapter 2, the James Caan, Neil Simon movie.
Oh, wow.
We've got The Jerk.
Nice.
We've got The Fog, obviously, which opens number 10, and we've got Fatso, the Dom DeLuise movie, right?
Yeah, Anne Bancroft's only film.
And Bancroft directed it, right?
You jumped over the fact The Fog opened at number 10.
Yeah, but that's how it is back then.
But even
This is
still,
not an opening
I know
weekend
it's a
thing.
platform,
Like-
but even still,
No, but The Fog was a huge hit. It made $20 million on a $1 million budget. It was exactly the same vibe of Carpenter, where it's just like the man, he profits. Like it's all profit with this guy.
yeah, sure.
That's why he keeps getting to do stuff.
And we'll never let him get a bigger budget ever.
Right, exactly.
But I'm excited because now we start to get into the satire a little bit.
What's your next one? Are you going in order or?
Yeah, we're going in order. It's Escape from New York next.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah.
I love the Kurt Russell Carpenter
Yes.
collaboration. It's the best.
Yes.
Like it's great.
I like that tongue in the cheek.
They are perfect for each other.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. And Kurt Russell just has like the exact type of humor that really I think makes Carpenter's work sing. Also, just I'm sure, as we'll talk about for several weeks in a row now, an insane face.
Kurt Russell, like in
Incredible
terms of
face.
its beauty.
Yeah, just young Kurt Russell. That face is just unbelievable. And you're like, slap a beard on it, incredible. Shave
It's an
it, even
outrage.
better.
Yeah.
Like it's all good. Yeah,
He totally looks like his name could be Snake too.
he does.
Snake.
Like
does.
he wears that shit well.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But he's one of those actors who looks like he was production designed.
Yes, big up his jaw especially
Yeah.
looks like it was production design. Like someone came in and built that with like hydraulics. But yes, we'll talk about Kurt plenty, obviously, on this show.
Yes.
There's gonna be
wait to
so
hear
much
about
Kurt
it.
talk.
Nia, thank you so much for carving out some time to
Thank
come
you
back
for
on the
having
show.
me again.
You're the best.
No, you're the best, Griffin.
Please.
Oh, guys, jeez. No, you hang up.
No, Ben's the best.
Ben's the
Okay,
best. We can all
Ben's
agree.
the
We can
best.
all
He
agree.
is the best.
I am the best. Thank you.
Nia, is there anything you want to plug? Are you working on anything these days? What do you have anything coming up?
Please go see Candyman when it comes out next month, but don't at me.
In theaters.
In theaters is exciting.
Candyman is in theaters this weekend that this episode is dropping. It lines up
Yes,
perfectly.
It's coming out
Perfect.
this weekend, so go see it.
So go see Candyman.
Next November, please go see this Marvel movie. I'm sure you won't get any advertisements about it.
No, you're going to have to really hit the podcast hard to promote that.
Right.
I literally feel like I became a director so I could do podcasts. That's my career path.
Come back anytime.
Anytime. Please. And I got to say, in addition to saying thank you for coming back on the show, Nia, thank you all for listening. Now I'm speaking to the
Hey.
listener. And thank you to Marie Barty for our social media. Thank you to AJ McKeon, Alex Barron for our editing, Joe Bowen and Pat Reynolds for our artwork. You know what just happened? My brain just started farting, and I almost started thanking people from a different podcast because I've been listening to other podcasts too much.
Oh, wow. What are you listening to?
My brain was farting because I went to college with Marie Barty, and I was like, "What?"
New member of the family. I've been listening to podcast The Ride, and I almost shouted out the team at Forever Dog. So
sure.
Thank you to Joe Cilio for helping to make other good podcasts that our podcasts have nothing to do with. Thank you to JJ Birch for our research. Leigh Montgomery and the Great American Novel for our theme song. Go to blankies.reddit.com for some real nerdy shit. And you could go to our Shopify page for some real nerdy merch. You go over to patreon.com/blankcheck. Blank check special features. We'll have covered Elvis and Somebody's Watching Me, which are
Somebody's Watching
important
Me,
early works of Carpenter. So if you want to hear those, sign up for that. Just one tier, $5 a month. Tune in next week for Escape from New York. All killer, no filler, this lineup.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And as always, Ben is fundamentally not afraid of fog.
No.
He's the best, though. We love him.
He's the best.
Aw, thanks, guys. Love you too.